can we what can we learn from our ancestors to grow in life?
Okay, Aditya. Sure. So I'm super curious. Why did you come up with this question on the first place?
Well, because anthropology is about what makes us human. So I thought what we it would what I thought that it would be great if we could have an understanding of what we can learn from an ancestors to grow in life, and what they did wrong, which we should do right.
Oh, okay, that's really beautiful. And when you talk about the ancestors, who are you thinking about?
Ancestors
Like,
meaning like
uh
old us, old human
elders,
beings. Yes.
all human beings. Okay, cool. Yeah, like in my culture, we don't have an ancestor reverence practice. So maybe 2 years ago, I would have had troubles answering this question because we don't have a direct connection with our ancestors. I mean, we of course know who are our grandparents and maybe the father and mother of our grandparents, but that's it. So since last year, I started building a connection with my ancestors consciously, and it has been deeply nourishing and has supported my well-being. So I can say, as you said, we have a lot to learn from our own people. We can learn from them what are the blessings we carry as part of our lineages, and also what are the challenges we carry as part of their past and their history. So once we get into relationship with them, we can make that conscious and try to amend the wrongdoings of our past people, and also to embrace all the awesomeness that our lineages carry. So that's one thing we can learn, being in a relationship with them. And also another thing is to learn and honor how beautiful our own heritage is. Like sometimes due to colonialism, it is easy to think that maybe our own culture is not as great as other people's culture, and that's definitely a wound for us as human beings. So getting into relationship with your great and well ancestors is a way to honor and recognize that we have a beautiful heritage to honor. Um, Let me see if there is something else I'm missing. Yeah, and the other thing is that they, as part of our blood, um, they are a source of great guidance about our life purpose as well. So for me, it's been a blessing to get their guidance and support into my own, into weaving my own path. So I will say those are the great things of being in relationship with the ancestors.
That is really great. So what is the actual meaning of term what is the actual meaning of the term meaningful relationships? Because you talk about relationships with humans, with inhuman objects, like with things. Then can you first of all, can you tell us about what is the meaning of the term meaningful relationships with humans?
Sure. Okay, so first of all, I don't have a training in psychology, so this is a really personal statement based on my own experience. So for me, the term meaningful relationship is interchangeable with a healthy relationship or life honoring relationship. And to me, that is really personal. Like it relates to who do I call friend, and also it relates to what do I feel it is important and meaningful for me. So as a baseline, we are all a social species, so we need interactions with other people. And relationships are different. Like some relationships can be maybe more shallow or maybe more for fun, and others can be more like we talk about deeper topics and we feel more safe to share certain things. And this doesn't mean that there are certain relationships that are better than others. I feel to me all of them are meaningful and important. Um, but there are particular characteristics of what I mean when I say a meaningful relationship. So I'll share with you a few. So one is that there are boundaries in the relationship. So my boundaries are respected, and the other person also have limits or boundaries that I can honor. So that's one. Another one is that in that relationship, I'm encouraged to be the best version of myself. And also that my life and my skills are celebrated and encouraged to flourish. And also that in this relationship, I get positive feedback, let's say, like from a loving and kind place, that they show me aspects of my life that are potential for personal growth or that I can improve. So these are few aspects of a meaningful relationship for me. How does it look for you? Does it
Yeah,
does it
that's
resonate?
great. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So what is the importance of having such a relationship with humans? What do you why should everyone have a relationship like this, not a fake relationship? What is your take on that?
Okay. So I feel we can do what we are meant to do by ourselves. Absolutely. But it gets lonely and it gets difficult to do. So to me, it is way better to count on relationships and support to bloom in my life and so that I can fulfill my life purpose. So, for instance, this awesome show that you have, I guess it is supported by many people besides you, right? Like, who helps you make this a reality, for instance?
Can you
Aditya,
repeat?
you're on mute. Okay, go ahead.
Can you repeat?
So who helps you to make this show possible? Like, who in your life is a great support for you?
Well, I think the most important person who contributes to the show is my father. He helps me a lot. He advises me. He coaches me on things which I should improve, and he's a great help. Yeah.
Okay. So, for instance, in your case, without your father, maybe you could do it, but it would be a great stretch for you to make it happen, right? I mean, like, your father makes it way easier and it makes your life like even more enjoyable and your work more enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So whenever we do something in our life, there are at least one person to whom we owe gratitude for what we can do. And to me, this is really, really crucial. And the more people we have backing us and supporting our life, the more rich and enjoyable and supportive our own service to the world gets. So that's why for me it is so important to cultivate these like meaningful or life honoring relationships. So that's one example, and it's like so that we can contribute to the world in company, so we don't have to do it alone. Another example about why it is important to have meaningful relationship with other people is that we learn through experience and through mirroring other people. So if we have great examples that inspire us in our lives, that is a great source of inspiration and of growth for us. So it is awesome to be surrounded by amazing people who are supportive and loving and inspiring for us. So that's why I think it's also important to have meaningful relationships. Let me see if I'm missing something. Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay. So that's really great. So tell us about animism. What is it? I talked about it in the previous question. What is animism?
Okay, so animism is it starts from the premise that we are not the only wise intelligent species on Earth. So it assumes that there are other people who are not human, who are gifted by life and awareness. So, Aditya, who do you think I am speaking about? You're on mute.
Objects like table, laptop, and all inanimate objects which we think are not, which do not have life. You're suggesting that they do have life, right?
Not necessarily, and a little bit. So let's go first to address language. So I don't know how is Hindi or other local languages in India. But for instance, in Spanish and Portuguese, in Swedish, in English, in French, which are the language I have some notion about, there is a separation between beings and like people, like humans, and objects, right? So we have this distinction in the language. So for instance, in English, I will say she, he, like attributing a personhood to a human being, right? But I wouldn't say she or he or they to a computer, right? I will say it. Okay, so here maybe it is more easy to see like, okay, maybe a computer is an object, is an inanimate object, right? It's a it. But it gets more complicated when we use this language to address other creatures. For instance, when we use it to refer to a dog, or when we use it to refer to a plant, or to refer to a body of water, or to a mountain, okay? So the difference here gets a little bit blurred. And why is this important? Because language is one of the ways in which we apprehend the world, in which we make meaning of our experience and the world we are part of. So if my language, which is the way I understand my reality, tells me I am the only one who is conscious, who has a life, who has an awareness, and the rest of the world is an it, that is an object, then what do I think about it? So the only people I can build a relationship with, a meaningful relationship, is with other human people, because they are the only ones who have life, who are intelligent, who have a soul, and who have an awareness. Beyond from that, everything is an it, is an object, and therefore they are there for me to use them, to take advantage of them, and do as I please with them. So, okay, maybe with a computer is not as problematic, but it can get a little problematic when we start thinking about other lives, other ways of life, like other non-human animals, because we are also animals. The thing is that we strive to forget that or to ignore that part. So with other non-human animals, with plants, and with elements like water, earth, fire, etc. So it can be a little bit of a stretch for somebody who hasn't problematized this to think that fire might be gifted with awareness. So let's not go that far yet, although we could get there. But as an introductory conversation, let's start problematizing, don't other animals have awareness? Don't other animals have life? Don't plants feel or have awareness and consciousness? So, like, if you have ever looked into the eyes of an animal, maybe you have felt the answer already. Like, it is impossible to imagine that that being is not alive, that that being doesn't have a consciousness, okay? So animism respects, recognizes, and honors the life of other living creatures and acknowledge them as people. And therefore, as people, they are potential beings with whom we can establish connection, and not only connection or communication, but also meaningful relationships. So this is a really introductory idea of animism. It is a way of living in the world, and it really expands the human experience on Earth. Like, we have been living for centuries as if we are the only wise creature in the world, and that, again, as I said before, it gets lonely. I mean, imagine all the possibilities we have to establish meaningful connections with other peoples who are not human, and we have skipped that for centuries. So that's what animism talks about.
That is really interesting. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so how can we draw inspiration from all, like what can we learn from it, from animism? What advice, what do you think we should learn from animism, and what should we change in our lifestyle?
Okay, so um, hold on, I'm having like a moment here. Um, what can we learn from animism, and what can we incorporate in our lives? Hold on, I just like space out. I know you will edit this, so it's fine. Um, Crap, I just spaced out.
Yes.
Let me drink some water. Okay, please ask me again so I can connect.
Can you tell us what can we learn from animism, and what changes should we introduce to our lifestyle?
Yeah, okay, so we are, as humans, are made through relationship. So, for instance, it will be super easy for me to be or to feel that I am enlightened and I have discovered myself living away from society and from the world, because then nothing will challenge me and nothing will invite me to decide who I want to be and who do I want to create about my own being. So in that sense, we build ourselves through relationship. So if we only have relationships with human people, there is one aspect of our experience as humans who is being nourished and who is being developed. But there is a huge gap and place to explore about who can we be in relationship with other people who are not human. So imagine, for instance, you and me speaking, and we can learn so much about each other, right? We are so different, and there are so amazing life experiences about each other, right? That's why you are doing this work, I guess, like inviting, inspiring, and interesting people. So now imagine that you could do this with your dog or with a butterfly, or ask questions about how do they experience life and what wisdom can they share with you, with a tree who lives in your neighborhood, or like with a stone who has lived here for eons, since the earth became earth. So there is so much wisdom to be shared, and there is so much we can expand into being in relationship with other people who are not human, and we are missing so much out. So just like inviting this possibility that it is possible to build a meaningful connection and relationship with other non-human people is already a starting point to begin expanding as individuals.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So does this concept apply to money too? How can we use the power of money through this concept? Develop a relationship with money, which is a greedy relationship. How do you think we can use the power of money through this concept? Yeah, please continue.
Okay, Aditya. So before I answer that, why do you use the word or the concept power of money? Like, why do you see power in money?
Because money in itself has no value. because it's just a piece of paper, but it has a lot of power when you use it as currency like to buy stuff. So that's why it has a lot of power.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so indeed, money in itself is a metaphor. It's an invention we have created as human beings. So it is a way of exchanging one thing for another one. So, for instance, I offer my knowledge, I offer my time, I offer my labor, and in exchange, I get a metaphor, which is money, so that I can actually get access to what I need for thriving in the world. So I can get access to housing, to food, to water, and other things as well, right? So money in this sense is a transactional notion that we use as our society has gotten so complex, right? Because before, for instance, we would exchange like salt and spices that were super valuable as well. But as trade and the world has gotten more globalized and more abstract, then money plays this role, right?
Yes.
So personally, I had a big aversion towards money because to me it was directly related with the inequalities and exploitation of the world. So let's say I didn't want to build a relationship with money before. But now I see as well the power that you just mentioned. So the fact that the world is not a fair place, or the fact that money has been used for selfish purposes, doesn't mean one, money is bad in itself. Second, it doesn't need to be like that. So how can we change this? So on the one hand, the problem of the world, or one of the big problems of the world, is not scarcity. One of the big problems of the world is distribution. So a lot of the earth resources are in the hands of few people, and they are there without being distributed and without being honored or used. So that applies also to money. So if money was distributed in the world, that will show the problem is not that we don't have enough money or we don't have enough resources. The problem is that not everyone has fair access to what the world offers, okay? So money, as well as many other elements in the world, like for instance water, hasn't been created to be stuck in one place. So it was meant to flow, you know, like water was meant to flow from one place to the other, and in the process bless everyone with life as it crosses the earth and gets to the ocean. It is the same with money for me. Like money is meant to flow around the earth, and in the process bless everyone who touches with the access to life. Because as we said, it is a transactional tool. So as we get access to money, we also get access to the blessings of the earth. That's how we operate as society right now. So how can we use the power of money when we get it? First, we can think about this super common concept of the power of the consumer, which is true, I feel, and is where are you gonna leave your resources and eventually your energy, right? Because you are getting money in exchange of your life energy in a way, because your work, your time, your knowledge is your life energy, and in exchange of that you are getting money. So where are you gonna invest that life energy of you when you have the power to decide? Are you gonna leave it in corporations who are not life honoring, who are contributing to leave the world as an unequal and exploitative place? Or are you gonna give it to amazing organizations, amazing people who are working for making a better world in fair trade projects, in organic projects, in local markets? So that's the power we have to choose where do we invest our life energy in the world. So for me right now, I feel I want to be a channel for that, and I can do that through money. You know, like when the more money I have access to, the better I can redistribute it in places that are in align with my own values, that and I know I can contribute to build a better world. So this is my responsibility, and this is a responsibility of each and everyone who have access to money. Are you gonna support a system of exclusion and exploitation, or are you gonna invest every penny that you have received in exchange of your life energy to make a better world? And every choice we make when we buy something matters and adds to a solution, or to keep the world as it is. That, in my opinion, is not great so far. So yeah, there is a big job to do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can you tell us how is the female gender a blessing to humanity?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we are radically changing the topic right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, right.
Because
So
yeah.
go.
Continue.
No, go, Aditya.
Yeah. So because you talk a lot about why the female archetype is very important. So can you please tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so females are a blessing to humanity because we are. Period. No further explanation. We as humanity are wounded because we feel we need to find a reason to honor life. And we are so wounded that we haven't even been able to honor our own species. So we are still waiting for an argument to honor diversity and to honor our own kind. So if we have been blessed with life and with diversity, that is already a blessing. And to me, it is crazy that people need to find arguments for respecting people in different bodies, or people in different colors, or people with different ways of bodies. I mean, I cannot say anything else. Like,
Okay.
from the beginning, female bodies were honored because people recognized that without our female bodies, life was not possible. As simple as that. We as humanity have been birthed through a female body, right? Like,
Yes.
more, I mean, like, to put it like in a very practical sense. So in ancient times, and as the basis of every religion, people were earth honoring people and had reverence for female bodies because they knew they were the source of life. As simple as that. Without female bodies, no life is possible. And I'm not saying that we as people in female bodies need to birth other human beings in order to be women, because that has been also a really misunderstanding of what are our duties as being in a female body. Like, oh, in order to be fulfilled, you should be a mother, and that's totally an option, and by no means we should be pushed to that. Like, that's a personal decision. But what I mean is that we as female bodies are the embodiment of the concept of creativity. Like it is through our portals that new life come here in Earth, and that a new world can be created through the blessings of new people and new ideas. Because it's not only birthing human beings, it is also birthing new creations. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you please tell us about how the society can benefit from embracing the female archetype? Please give some examples.
Sure. Okay. So, are you familiar with this idea of the yin yang?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, let's imagine that for a bit. So, if you remember, there is a circle, which is the representation of a unity.
Yes.
And that circle is divided into two parts, right?
Yeah.
And these two parts have also a part of the opposite color within, right? So let's imagine that like these two dots that the yin yang has, that has the opposite color, right? So let's imagine that this yin yang is the representation of male and female archetypes. So an archetype is an abstraction of an idea. So I'm not talking about being a man or a woman here. I'm talking about like these two complementary forces that are female and male forces, okay? So these two forces combined make a unity. And a female force has also a part of a male force in it. And the other way around. The male force has also a part of the female force in it. So now, imagine a society that has said that everything that is related to the feminine is weaker, is less desirable, is not as cool as the male part. And imagine a society where even this male notion of what is to be a male energy is totally distorted. So this beautiful whole image of the yin yang then is completely destroyed. So that is what our society looks like right now in a metaphorical way. So have you heard the term patriarchy by any chance?
No.
Okay, so patriarchy is the notion that says that being a male is better than being a female. And it is built on the premise of sexes, so on the physical differences. So it says being in a male body is stronger, is better, is more intelligent, is wiser than being in a female body. So this argument is based on the physical thing, and therefore it is presented as if it was nature. So nature made us like that, we are different, and being a male is better, of course, like based in this approach. No need to discuss it because that's how nature is. The thing is that this is a social construction. We made it. That's the way society interpreted the difference in the bodies. Because of course, I mean, we are not gonna discuss that being in a female body, I mean, a female body is different than a male body, right? I mean, it is clear to the eyes. That's biology. It is culture and society. It is a construction, the values we give to that difference, okay? So everything else that says that one body is better, wiser, stronger, etc., that is a social idea that needs to change and needs to be challenged because it's not nature, it's not natural. And this is in the basis, to me, and not only to me, of the big wound we have as society. So this is in the basis of discrimination against women, of lack of opportunities against women, of violence against women, and not only women, against everyone who is different than the ideal male body, okay, or person. And it is also at the base of the way we relate with the world, because it is totally related with the notion of males are better, are and they are entitled to do as they please, not only with women, but also with everything else. So with earth, so it is like I am entitled to go and take as much as I want of anything, and everything is seen as a resource, including females' lives. And this is so. This notion to me is in the baseline of the wounds and the problems we have as society, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is very interesting. Can you please tell us about the concept of gender identities, which you talked about?
Yeah, Aditya, sure. But before that, I would like to share, if it's okay, and if you are interested, on few things that society is missing by the
Okay.
fact of by not embracing this female archetype, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said before, this yin yang notion is not whole right now because of the way we are relating with being female and being male, right? So what is society missing out on this? So one is that we are super disconnected with the notion of cycles. So, like we as female physically embody the notion of cycle, like we, throughout the periods, we have menstruation, and that is totally associated with the birth and death and rebirth. Again, it is a cycle that we have in our body. And in culture, in society, it has been downplayed as a weakness. When we identify a society that something is not desirable, in this case, this relationship with the cycles, it does not only affect the people who experience them physically, in this case, we who are in female bodies, but also society at large. So what happens when a society doesn't embrace the notion of cycles, of change, of death, and of rebirth? Then we are totally disconnected with our nature as living creatures, as human beings. If you look out the window, life is change. A flower that you saw yesterday won't be the same in few days. It might be dead. And it is dead so that a tree can give birth to a fruit, so that you can feed from it and other animals can feed from it. So that's the way the world operates. But we, in our culture, have value higher non-cyclicity, so that everything is stable, everything is not changeable. And this directly impacts our relationship with personal change, with personal growth, and also with changes at large. Like there have been moments in human history when people who think different and who want to contribute in different ways to the world have been burnt and have been chastened, because we are so scared of changes. We are so scared of letting go systems who don't work anymore and who don't serve humanity and the world anymore. And this goes all to the root of our disconnection with changes. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we have equated feelings with female, and therefore with weaknesses. And in our societies, there is a big taboo towards feeling wholesomely. Like, a lot of people have a big resistance to experience certain feelings. Certain feelings have been labeled as less wanted or bad feelings, and that is because they have been equated maybe with being a female and with being weak. The problem is, the more we suppress certain emotions and certain feelings, the harder it is for us to feel in a wide range of emotions. So if we suppress fear or anger or sadness, then we have a hard time tapping into other feelings that maybe we also want to experience, like happiness, like love, like joy. So we as a society are kind of numb right now, and all human experience is really, really narrow in that sense as well. And another aspect I want to share is also the relationship with intuition and creativity. So with intuition is for the following reason. We have value high reason and science, and the rest is doubt upon because it cannot be tested. And that also leaves a great part of our human experience outside. For instance, everything we cannot prove because we lack tools or because we lack interest right now in science is left outside our reality. And for instance, like what we were speaking before, like the possibility of speaking with other people, of, for instance, receiving information through dreams or receiving information through intuition is also mutilated because of this notion. And the notion of creativity as well. If we don't honor the people who bring life to the world, then society at large doesn't honor the possibility or the importance of creation. And therefore, we are totally disconnected with the creativity. So the more we embrace and feel awe by the fact that new life is created, that there is some magic that happens that we don't understand, but that comes through the portal of creation to this world, the more we embrace the possibility of imagining new worlds and make them happen. So yeah, I have much more to say, but I guess we can leave it there if it's okay.
Okay, okay, that is great. Can you please advise a few things which can be changed for girls to open their wings and allow them to fly? How can we do this? How can we promote the female gender to contribute more to society and erase this old mentality of only men rules? So how can we do this?
Sure. Okay, so this goes first to girls, to women, and to anyone who has experienced discrimination or have been doubted upon because of who you are. So first of all, it is really important that you know that you are valuable, that you don't need to show or demonstrate to anyone that you deserve to be here. You have received life, and that's enough. That's enough proof of the value of who you are. And that's enough proof that you deserve to be here and that your life is deeply valuable and that we need your contribution in the world. So each of us has a unique gift and a unique contribution that we desperately need right now in the world, because the world needs to change. And it will only change when we embrace our unique gift and skills and put it into service to the world. So know in your heart, embrace it. You are important and your life is crucial, and we need you to become who you are meant to become in this life. Okay? So that's super important, a super important message for you. Okay? If you are a girl or a woman or who have experienced exclusion. Okay, the next thing is to realize and acknowledge that children are people. And that means you have a criteria, your opinion matters, and your thoughts and dreams are real and are valuable and need to be respected and promoted. So I know sometimes it doesn't happen like that. Like, it is hard for people to acknowledge that your humanity, your wisdom, and your dreams. So if that's your case, take note of your dreams for your life. And if you can, share them with somebody you can trust and somebody who can maybe help you to make them a reality. If that's not the case, because sometimes it's not the case, I mean, we are so wounded as humanity that sometimes we cannot find somebody who supports our dreams, especially at early ages. So treasure them in your heart. You will grow up. And when that happens, I pray so that you remember how courageous you are, how strong you are, and how important it is that you become who you dreamed and who you are meant to be. So that's also super important to remember as a kid. Okay? Another advice for kids, but also this goes for, of course, youth and parents and teachers. Invite in your schools talks, workshops in these topics. It will never be enough. It will never be too much until society changes. And there is still a lot of effort to be done. So ask for getting training and getting information and education on gender equality, on feminist theories, on remembering your power, etc. Okay? Another advice, don't promote and don't support practices, sexist practices. In your household, in the school, with your classmates, with your friends. So that means not because somebody is in a particular body, they need to do certain tasks. So for instance, not because girls are in a female body, they need to cook all the time or do all household activities, and not because guys are in a male body, they are the only ones entitled to go on the street and do certain games, you know? So start embracing the possibility of being who you want to be regardless of your body. So for kids who are male as well, like, you can play with dolls if that's what you want. Don't let anyone to tell you otherwise, okay? For girls, if you want to play with cars, that's fine. And I know this has been said plenty of times elsewhere, and it will never be too much, okay? So there are certain activities that maybe nobody wants to do in the house. Women don't need to do them, you know, like, so distribute the activities based on interests, skills, preferences. So for instance, if somebody loves cooking, let them cook, you know. It doesn't matter if they are a male, if they are the kid, if they are the grandfather, let them cook. If somebody loves doing the dishes, let them do the dishes. It's not like because there is a girl in the house, she has to do it, okay? Somebody else can do it if that's what they want. Okay, if there is something that nobody likes to do in the household, distribute with equity these tasks that needs to be done, but nobody wants to do them. So for instance, this time the father does, the next month the kid does, and the next month the mother does, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you feel that this is a big stretch for you, or you feel that this is an exaggeration, maybe you are being benefited by the current system of exclusion. because that means you are having a privilege that is supported on the exclusion and discrimination of other people. So remember, as I shared with you before, maybe you feel you are being privileged and you don't want to let go that privilege, but as a society, we are directly impacted due to this distortion of how we live as male and female people. So either way, you will be directly impacted, the people who you love will be impacted, and the next generations will be impacted if you don't contribute to change this society. So also don't allow for sexist jokes or comments that downplay female. Don't let them happen in your presence, or don't even think about them or even promote them. And look for support and education. I mean, it is everyone's responsibility to get educated in this. It's not like we as females should educate you. It is a responsibility of everyone. So look for feminist theory. Look for organizations in your country or in your city. I'm sure there are awesome organizations who are working already for gender equality. So ask for support, ask for getting training. I mean, and be brave at observing your own beliefs and at challenging them, because we all have been taught and grown up in some sort of a patriarchal or male chauvinist society. So we all have to still transcend certain stereotypes and certain thoughts that don't serve us anymore. So remain courageous, remain open and vulnerable to change and to learn, because it is in every one of us the responsibility for changing this.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So can you tell us what are your ideas of social change, and how would you suggest the best way to contribute to the world for good?
Okay, Aditya, sure. I just want to remind you that I didn't answer the question about the gender identities. So if you want, I can answer it now, or I can answer it after this question, as you
You can
want.
answer it after this question.
Okay, sure. Okay, so what is my idea of social change? So to me, it is clear that the world as it is not okay. That's why I studied from the beginning to make a change in the world, make a contribution to it. That means changing the world in a way. It is not on my shoulders to change everything in all aspects for good, but I'm so sure I can make a contribution to it. And it is so necessary. We are creating an impact in the world that is not great. We can do better as a species, as individuals, and we are getting the impact of it right now. And if you are not feeling it, maybe you are in a privileged position, and privilege comes with responsibility. So the fact that if you are not feeling it, it doesn't mean it is not your responsibility as well to see what is going on in the world and to contribute to change it based on your wisest values and ideas of a better world. So that's my idea of social change. To me, social change won't come from the government or from the bigger corporations, although it needs to come from there as well. But sometimes it is super comfortable to just stay here complaining about how crappy the world is and how unfair and exclusive it is, and exploitative it is, and not do anything about it, because it is super comfortable to think I don't have the power to do anything. To me, the world will change when it starts from myself. So, for instance, when I start changing my perspective about different systems of oppression, when I take action about it, the world will change. And when I do this, and when you do this, and when everyone does this, then the change will come faster. And we cannot procrastinate it. Let's face it. I mean, we really need to get going about it. It's urgent, you know, it's vital. So to me, it is super necessary, as we spoke before, to amend the wrongdoings that we have done historically. And it comes from our ancestors as well. So that's why it is so important to be in a good relationship with them, so we understand what is our responsibility based on our own heritage. What do we need, or that what do they need that we do, so that we amend the wrongdoings that they did, because that still is going on. Like, our ancestors have perpetrated racism, have perpetrated gender discrimination, have perpetrated exploitation to the world and to the earth, and many other wounds of society. So when we understand what is our responsibility and our legacy and our burden as part of our lineages, we can then know with more clarity where is it that we can be of better help right now to help building a better world. And also, you know, like being in dialogue with the earth or with other than human people can be also a great inspiration to, you know, to remember our place in the world, just to be humble about it. Like, how we are not entitled to just do as we want, but we are part of a living web of life, and therefore we need to respect and retribute in the ways in which we behave in the world. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So can you so you were going to tell us about gender identities after this one, so please continue with that one. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so before that, Aditya, I want to thank you for being willing and available for discussing all these topics, because I'm so aware that these are complex topics. People do PhDs about everything we have spoken about here. So it is really advanced, and really advanced conversation, and at the same time, it is really important for us,
Yes,
as a species, you know. So thank you for your openness and for bringing these topics to the YouTube channel. So, what is a gender identity? So again, this is another super big and complex topic. So I'm just gonna introduce it here with the intention that if you feel curious about it, you will, you know, research it for yourself. So, okay, as a basic, you are, as I can see, but maybe I'm wrong, so correct me, you are in a male body, right?
yeah,
Okay, so I am in a female body. But that doesn't imply that I will identify as a woman, necessarily. And it doesn't imply that you will identify as a man, okay? So being in a body is one thing, and identifying with it is another thing, okay? So, for instance, in my case, I'm a female body, and I identify myself as a woman. So therefore, I am a cisgender woman. That means my gender identity is female, and it corresponds to my body. So in your case, you identify with your body or you don't?
I identify with my body.
So you identify yourself as a boy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in your case, you are a cisgendered boy because your body is male and you identify yourself as a male, okay? So in this case, your identity corresponds to your body. But for instance, if I didn't identify as a woman, but as a man, for instance, or as a person who is not gender conforming. Let's say I don't want to identify as a male or as a female, but as something in between, or I don't want to have this, category on me. That's also possible. And that's part of all this richness and diversity that is a blessing for humanity. So, among all the other wounds that we have as society, there are people who have troubles embracing this diversity as a blessing and respecting it and honoring it. So if this is the case of a person who is watching the video, just know that it is absolutely a blessing and it's awesome who you are and how you identify. And if you are watching this and it is a stretch for you to see this as something good or as a blessing, look for support, because maybe this is an area of personal growth and of personal healing that you can do. So this is a concept of, so one thing is the physical body and biological body that we are, and the other is the gender identity we embrace. So this is related, for instance, when people, that this has gotten like widespread recently, I mean, at least over here in Colombia, but maybe in the US is more widespread before. When somebody asks you what are your pronouns, so like for instance, people will say, my name is Natalia and my pronouns are she, he, they, Yeah. So that says what my identity is. So yeah, does it make sense?
Yeah. So, so what is your roadmap to achieve the goal you have planning in the next few coming years? How do you plan to achieve what you plan to achieve in the next few years?
Okay. I think this is a good moment to tell you that after we had the first meeting, and that you asked me like, tell me about yourself, and I was reluctant to tell you like who I am. I can tell you now, I'm safe saying I feel I am an ordinary person creating an extraordinary life. So the roadmap for continuing creating this extraordinary life for me in the coming years is keep on following my intuition, keep on following and asking for guidance of my ancestors and the other than human people with whom I have built and tended a relationship, who are source of inspiration as well. So I will just keep on trusting them, So in the practical sense, I intend to get training in guiding other people to meet their own awesome ancestors and build a relationship with them, if that's not part of their culture, as it hasn't been for my culture and my case. So I'll get training on this starting this year. So I hope to guide other people to meet their ancestors in the future. So that's part of my journey, and that's a practical offering I will do. Another practical thing I will do is continue serving through Cuenca Sacra and reach as many people as I can to do two things. One is to connect to their life team. So to me, a life team goes beyond the human relationships we have and extends to other than human relationships and ancestral relationships. So one of my purposes is to teach you to identify your life team, because in that way you will be supported and you will be nourished to continue with your life purpose. And through that connection as well, you can get clarity on what is your particular contribution to the world. So I mean, yeah, these are my objectives with Cuenca Sacra, like helping you remember through your life team what is your life purpose, and that you get support to make it happen. Because we really need people contributing to changing the world in different ways, in creative ways, and that can only come from everyone, from each of us. I mean, like, nobody else can tell you, Aditya, you are so good at this, your contribution in the world should be this. Like, that needs to come from within, and that cannot be done without, like, a team. So in your case, your father, and maybe, I don't know if you get support from God, for instance, who is also another meaningful relationship. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So so thanks. That was a great session. It was great to talk to you, and I learned a lot. And my viewers, thank you for watching till the end. Stay tuned till the next episode, because that's going to be interesting as well. Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya.